Field after the game, had a chance to watch the first quarter on the TV copy after we were done, just so I could hear what Moose Johnson was saying. And I think honestly, everything that C.J. Stroud talked to them about apparently in the production meeting, he came through full force, making the simple throws on first and second down, keeping the run game going, all of those things. This is a much more efficient output Texans today, and that's even with CJ skying a couple of balls early in the game. That was there was one point where I looked up and I was a little bit concerned about some of the high throws that he had, and he was still really efficient at that point, way more efficient than Mac Jones. My 49ers part of the sideline, and I'm kind of looking for my friend Bam, who's the special teams coordinator for the 49ers, because I sent him a profanity-laden text about them being the only thing that really kept the 49ers at the game at the end of the first half. That was the only thing that marred the first half, was that return and penalty that at the end that allowed them down. And then obviously, like, guess what? George Kittle is still freaking George Kittle. But offensively, defensively, that first half was everything that really mattered. And I think to start with C.J. Stroud, about 7 notes on C.J. Stroud. Taking the easy stuff, making the simple throws, being very calm in the pocket. That was a big part of it. And then the pass protection being a lot better. Part of that was the pass rush that they were facing, but also keeping Blake Fisher in as the sixth offensive lineman, the run pass threat that provided. They did a good job with that. I think first and foremost, I don't care how many guys you get out on routes. If CJ's got time, he's able to make those incredibly precise throws, and they were able to do that a lot better today. Some of the max protection issues and everything, when they use multiple, 7, 8-man protection, early in the season, that'd actually be a hindrance more than an aid, and they cleaned that up a lot today. So that was really, really good. The Iowa State receivers, I mean, between Higginson, uh, Higgins and Knoll, like actually seeing them get the ball, everything being spread out, some of the things that they're using to set up, some of those things, those deeper routes that they wanted to exploit, they had to set up by running the ball first, and they just hadn't been doing a consistent job of that earlier in the season. So that was really good. Woody Marks, and on that play, look, they're taking a deep shot. They had 7-man protection in. Woody seeped out, and the linebacker didn't see him. That was a really good job of CJ being calm, understanding that he had time, and then hitting the check down. I mean, sometimes the check down is the most glamorous thing you can do, especially when you get it out to Woody Marks. Defensively, Will Anderson was a machine. I mean, just watching from the press box up there, I don't know if it showed up on television, but it looked like Joe Montana had like jilted his great aunt in a romantic relationship or something back in the day, and he was trying to avenge her, because he was a freaking machine. There were a few plays where he was slanting down inside and getting double teamed and still like splitting the double team like he was a nose tackle. It was really cool to see. Lots of guys on defense. Henry To'oTo'o. I did you expect in Henry To'oTo'o's rookie year that you were going to see him breaking up a pass to Christian McCaffrey down in the red zone? EJ's speed and coverage the last couple of weeks, I think, has been way more than I had hoped. Like, EJ Speed was a guy that at Indianapolis, you always wondered, all right, he's really good, comes up, makes some physical plays versus the run, but I don't know about him in pass coverage. He's made some plays in pass coverage the last couple weeks. And then the effort versus Christian McCaffrey, when the game really, really mattered, that was what counted. I know things got a little sloppier in the second half, but their ability to just basically thud him up and just stop him like a brick wall, that was a really good effort by those guys. I think I got everything. I'm going to do some film in a little bit, so we'll get to that later. CJ's confidence in the pocket. The game flow helps a lot. Like, this offense, if they're down 2 scores early on, that's when I think there's a tendency to press. And it was a lot easier today to not have CJ or the rest of the offense feel like that. I see somebody says, Serio, please get us some O-line help. Somebody in the press conference asked CJ if there's anything they would like him to go out and pick up the trade deadline. Like, this isn't baseball, man. I appreciate the question, but there's no way in hell CJ is going to say, like, yeah, these running backs are trash. I don't know. Joe Mixon is still out there, but none of us are thinking that that's realistically a possibility. But who knows? We'll see. CJ on that slide in the second half. Can we acknowledge that? Look, quarterbacks who slide, but also understand that it's their responsibility to get their head down out of danger. He did a great job with that. Unlike some other quarterbacks we've seen, that linebacker, it was Bethune. Bethune was coming across, flying across, and really could have taken CJ's head off, but he got his head down. He understood. Quarterback's got to take some responsibility. Joe Mixon is in Narnia. Uh, tell me, and I'll get to everybody else who I'm missing right now. I'm curious to see how many plays Blake Fisher got in the game, and whether it was the most that we've seen so far. I think there's something to be said for, all right, hey, you've got an extra offensive lineman on the field. Yes, you're going to be limited in the number of receivers and options CJ has, but you got to get to a point where you acknowledge, like, okay, um, like we can have five guys out on routes, but if CJ only has 2 seconds in the pocket, then what the hell are we going to do? MJ Stewart. MJ, I'm going to credit MJ Stewart. I know I tweeted about this, and for whatever reason I typed Stingley. MJ Stewart, when what's his name, Jennings, dropped that easy deep ball. I'm going to credit MJ Stewart for not getting up and doing the emphatic incomplete sign, like defensive backs love to do, like when they think it's their fault. Penalties on the offensive line. The holding calls, yes, got to clean that up. The one illegal man downfield by Jake Andrews, it was a busted screen, and sometimes you give a little bit of a pass on offensive linemen for that. I'd have to go out and watch and see exactly how he was treating it, because he was the only guy who was downfield, and he was downfield by a bunch. I got to go back and look at the actual timing and see if he would have been illegally downfield, even if the screen had come off on time. Daniel says it was a brilliant game. Yeah, look, I'm not going to complain about this at all. I'm really, really happy about the way the Texans came out and played in this game. Somebody asks, is it normal to switch an O-lineman on different drives as often as the Texans do? It's not normal. Sean Pendergast and I argue, or at least whatever version of Sean and I arguing is, we never really go at it all that much. I feel like it's an acknowledgement of, it's an acknowledgement that they don't have an ideal solution at guard. As far as bringing an extra offensive lineman in, it's not common. How should I say this? It's not common, but it's not unheard of for it to become some team's standard way of operating. That if you can do it that way, there are some limitations to it. But if you're a team that's really struggling to run the ball, if you're a team that's struggling to pass protect, it's the classic 80-20 principle. Like, okay, uh, if 80% of our problems are caused by this little thing that we can't pass protect in certain situations, or we can't consistently run the ball, then go ahead and take care of that. And it's not the ideal solution, but it gets the job done, and it puts CJ in a position to just be the best version of himself in these certain circumstances. Are there any pros switching them out and keeping them fresh? Not really. Offensive linemen don't get tired the way defensive linemen do. They say they do. I mean, they get tired, but generally the thinking is that the cohesion, the communication, everything else like that matters more. I do think there is something to be said for, like, if you don't have the ideal guard and you like one guy more in pass protection than the other, or you like one guy in pass protection that maybe you can. Somebody says you worry that it might hint or give tells. I know some of you might have seen the shot of the Seahawks defensive line last week, saying that he saw that Laken Tomlinson was always heavy in his stance on the run plays. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that like they got to clean up some of. That's not unheard of. For one, I don't want people to think just because that was caught on mic that like that's the sign of a bum offensive lineman. There are Hall of Fame offensive linemen who have some tells in their stance, and sometimes they show up and sometimes they don't from game to game. But it is certainly, like, obviously, hopefully they address that. I was trying to analyze it a little bit today when I could. You can't always see that stuff on film. Sometimes when you're watching, you'll be watching all week, and you might think you see something, but you don't know until you got out there in the game and see it in real time, first person, whether a tell is true or not. So who knows? Good game, really good game. Really happy with this one. I'll have some film and highlights later on to talk about, and you can watch me on KHOU tonight, and then obviously every morning on Sports Radio 610. It's 6 a.m. Thanks, everybody. It's a good one. Enjoy this one.